This is a bronchial blocker. You can use this as an alternative to a double lumen tube for isolating a lung. It's basically a tube exchanger that's hollow and with the cuff at the end. And using a regular endotracheal tube, you can pass this bronchial blocker down into either the left or the right lung. And once you're in your correct placement, you just simply inflate the balloon to isolate the lung. Let's look at some of the other materials and setup and placement of the bronchial blocker. One method to placing this bronchial blocker utilizes a special adapter which comes with the bronchial blocker itself. As you notice, it has 4 ports. The bottom port here connects to your endotracheal tube. This side port allows for connection of your circuit to allow for ventilation throughout the blocker placement. This top one with this rubber gasket allows for placement of your fiber optic scope down the endotracheal tube. The gasket seals, that way you can still provide positive pressure ventilation throughout the blocker placement. And this other port over here on the side allows for placement of your bronchial blocker. Once the bronchial blocker is advanced past the level of the scope, you can visualize seeing the twisting motion which directs the bronchial blocker into either bronchus. Another method we have to placing a bronchial blocker is using a specialized univent endotracheal tube. The difference about this endotracheal tube is that it has 2 lumens. One lumen is dedicated for the bronchial blocker. The other lumen is used for ventilation as well as the fiber optic scope. Once the tube is in place, you simply pass the scope down the ventilation lumen and advance your bronchial blocker, directing it into either bronchus. One disadvantage to this tube is that while you are placing the blocker and confirming placement of it, you cannot ventilate the patient unless you have the scope taken out. Once you've intubated the patient, go ahead and advance your fiber optic scope down the endotracheal tube to the level of the carina. Once there, advance your bronchial blocker to the same level. And using a twisting motion, you can direct the bronchial blocker into either the right or the left main stem. To isolate the right lung, use a clockwise turning fashion on the bronchial blocker to direct into the right main stem. If you want to isolate the lung, the left lung, use a counterclockwise twisting method to direct into the left bronchus. Once you are in your correct bronchus, go ahead and use the syringe and inflate the cuff, thereby isolating the lung. After you've inflated the cuff and isolated the lung, go ahead and remove your scope, making sure to close the gasket, that way you maintain positive pressure. And on the bronchial blocker, there's a metal stylet at the end. Go ahead and remove the metal stylet, thereby exposing the lung to atmosphere. This will deflate the lung. If you need to help deflation of the lung, you can take a luer lock syringe, place it on the end of the bronchial blocker, and suction out even more.